Today's November 16th, 2025. All right, now I'm going to make this note right here so I don't lose sight of these important thoughts, which depict what I consider to be not only persistent realities, but the kind of realities that we have to actually, at least I have to actually look at this time in my life. And because in my last talk, I referenced the former President Barack Obama, and I couldn't tell, it was an AI generated video, because I see people are doing that now. I'm not really sure what that's all about, but I can tell that it's not like actually the real person talking, or if it is the real person talking, then they're doing a lot of like edits and cuts and additions, and they're editing something, because there's something about it that's not natural. All right. I can see that. I can tell the difference for the most part right now still between what's a robot and what's an actual human being. But it is going to come to the point where they're going to make the two so closely associated and assimilated that you're not going to hardly be able to tell the difference, and then it's going to come to the point, does it even really matter? It does matter, okay? Bob Dylan, okay, and I haven't been really like looking at Facebook a lot, even though I got back on it, I got back into it. And that is, after all, how I think I came back in touch with my youngest boy. But still being said, I already said, it's like a drill that drills into your heart, and then, it makes a hole, and then you got to fill it. Well, I can't take any more holes in my heart. I have to try to fill so they don't bleed out. But I looked at Facebook today, and I seen the thing on there, and I read it, okay? And it was just a reading, all right? I didn't see anything like any real talking, but it was Bob Dylan on The View, and he made the criticism that something about that, like they were trying to put a brand on the truth. And then after he made his final point, then he left, he walked off or something. But it was Bob Dylan did something like that in the Carnegie Hall or something like that too. Like when they wouldn't let him play that song that made fun of some certain society that like was really had a phobia for communism. The John Birch Society. They wouldn't let him play that. They wouldn't let him do that song or something. So he left. He wasn't going to do it, even though being on I said Grand Ole Opry, Carnegie Hall. The Carnegie Hall, even though that is a great invitation, he walked off if they wanted to try to dictate to him his true authenticity. And that's why I respect Bob Dylan. And I'm thinking Bob Dylan might have been a little bit autistic. That's another point I wanted to go to, because I've been studying Bob Dylan for a long time, all right? And I kind of already understand how that he can hone in on a certain kind of purity. And that certain level of purity is above a lot of the other kind of lower scale bullshit, you know. It's like the purity at the top of the mountain. And there's a lot of fighting you got to go through in your mind and in your heart, you know, to get up to the top of the mountain. And I think Bob Dylan got there. But he got there by being focused. And Albert Einstein also, I was thinking, might be a little bit autistic, okay? Because he didn't talk until he was like 3 years old. And it's not just because he didn't talk until he was like 3 years old. It's because a certain part of his brain developed like more strongly than other parts. And the part that developed, there's this guy, and the reason I'm saying this is because I just watched this thing about this guy who actually, he was like a mortician, and he cut Albert Einstein's brain out because he said no. Even though Albert Einstein said that he wanted his body to be burned and cremated, and then like ashes, you know, were thrown on the Delaware River or something like that. He said that he wanted that because he didn't want nobody like worshiping at his ashes. All right. He wanted them to move on with the principles that he laid down. That he took a lot of work at coming to the final determinations of the best that he could say about the subject matter. And so he had that focus, and that mortician saved his brain, okay? And they discovered later on, okay, thanks to the mortician who saved his brain from being cremated. All right, they said that a certain part of Albert Einstein's brain was more developed. It was the some of the frontal peripheral cortex. I think it's the frontal peripheral cortex. Okay. It was more developed in Einstein's brain than like the rest of his brain. Like it was like twice as big as normal or something like that, you know. And that allowed him, because he had to, through many years of his life, concentrate to get to the purest form of the matter. And that is what the Hindus call the sutra. And it is the most pithy statement, the smallest amount of words, the most concise assertion of a thing, of explanation of a thing, possible. The shortest possible one that you can make. Okay? And that is the sutra. And that comes from the Hindu mindset. Albert Einstein also did the same thing because he was what do they call a person who says that the ideas belong to a certain copyright. He was a copyright kind of documenter. And so what was being copyrighted were the thoughts, the intellectual kind of thoughts that a person didn't want to say, okay, now these are belonging to me, okay, and I got the authority about this right here, right now. And that's what that copyright law means, okay? And he was Albert Einstein worked in the shop where they had to document these things, okay? And he had to study the inventions, okay? And that's what people want to protect, is like they want to say, okay, I'm making this thing, okay? And it's my invention, okay? And I don't want somebody else coming and making a bunch of money off my invention. But there's certain things that, okay, once you invent them, all right, it's like the difference between Microsoft and Unix. or Linux. Okay, Linux is an open-based model. All right, that means anybody can contribute, and the thoughts belong to everybody. One person might come up with a thing, but everybody, it's open source, is what they call it, an open source. All right, and other stuff is more proprietary, like Microsoft, more proprietary. They want to keep control. If you buy into this system, okay, well then it has these kind of parameters and boundaries, and we are in control of everything that's going on, and we make the rules, and you can trust us. All right, but Unix and Linux is open source, and that's contrary. All right. And that has to do with the stuff that's proprietary and stuff that's copyrighted. And that has to do with stuff that's open source and closed source. And the differences between the two. And there's arbitrators or arbiters, which is what former President Obama, was talking about that you might not think, because based on stuff that's going on, that nothing is real and there are no more real arbiters. But there are, he's saying, still real arbiters. Bob Dylan is a real arbiter, okay? Bob Dylan rises to the top of the mountain, okay? And he says to people down below, even on the good side and everything, that no, you cannot brand the truth and make it your brand. And that's open source. See, Bob Dylan is like open source. He said, no, this idea is just because you come up with the idea or something and you're riding that wave right now, like on a boat, kayaking, okay, you get on top of that wave and you ride that wave, and you can ride the wave for a long time, man. You can just sit there, man, on top of the wave. It's called playboating. I got a few playboats. I got a couple river boats. My son left his playboats here. I gave him my playboats. I don't know if he's got his own playboats still or not. He left a riverboat here. I know that. A couple of them. And one I might have even gave him, and he left it here. But diversion. The point is that you can't put a brand on the truth. That's what Bob Dylan said from the top of the mountain. Okay? At the top of the mountain, he told The View, he said, no, you can't put a brand on the truth. And it seems like you're trying to put a brand on the truth. And you can't do that. That might be the difference, between being open source and closed source. And now that I think about it. But everything is basically based on, it's funny if you look at that kind of thing. Because when I worked in IT, the big servers, we had two departments. We had one department that was for Unix, and we had one department that was for Microsoft. And Unix is open source, and Microsoft is closed source. And they had big servers for each of them. Big servers for each of them. And, still today we have big servers for each of them. But, yeah, I'm just going to play this real quick, all right? Hey, I kind of lost my way about what I was thinking about. But this is Charlie Angus. And Canada gives Trump hell as it burns him. Because this is current news right here. And I think it's good to listen to what people outside of the USA see It's important to listen to what they say about what they see. All right, here, look.
Donald, sucks to be you, doesn't it? But you know what? You deserve it. You've deserved this all the way along. Since the 80s, when you were bringing in Russian mobsters into Trump Tower, since your predatory abuse of girls and young women, you're hanging out with Jeffrey Epstein, the fact that you could unleash such an undemocratic attack on your own citizens, and then you just thought you could shake down the world as top crime boss, and Canadians said, no, we're not going to allow ourselves to be disgraced by you, a man of absolute disgrace. And now it's all coming home to roost. The demons that you unleashed are coming to eat you, Donald, and the world is watching, and the world is getting out the popcorn. As for Canadians, we said we weren't going to bend. We said we weren't going to break. We said we would never, ever kiss your ring. That's what made you so angry at us while you were kissing up to Putin and you were genuflecting to Putin, and you thought that we should do that to you. Well, we have 10 million reasons, Donald, never, ever, ever to bend now. So carry on, Donald. Let it all burn down. You're burning down your own people. You're burning down the alliances that were built up over decades. You're burning down the friendships that we have. But at the end of the day, Canada will still be there, true, north, strong, and free. And at the end of the day, we still don't have bitterness to our friends in the United States that we know are our friends. But for you, you're just political scum, Donald. It's catching up, and the world sees it.
Charlie Angus, Midas Canada. Thanks, Charlie, for everything.
Thank you so
Midas Canada. Midas touch says about Midas touch means because truth is golden. That's what that means. Anyway, so that's where I'm at right now. But I just wanted to make this here note because I'm getting ready to put the platform on. I'm going to show you real quick. I did a little bit more work. Way over there. Alright. Anyway. I don't know if you can see that or not, but see, I got 2x8s going across there. And 2x8s are what you use for beams. Well, I can use for a beam, and then my joists are 2x6s. But anyway, or however I arrange it, okay, it's strong. It's going to be plenty strong enough, and that's where I'm at. I'm at the top now. Just like Bob Dylan, looking down from the mountaintop, because that's my mountain, kind of, you know. Climb every mountain is my motto. And that's my mountain for right now. And at the top of the mountain, you'll find out, okay, you cannot put a brand on the truth, because the mountain that we all climb is the mountain of truth. Okay? That's what I'm gonna call this one. Just now came to me. The mountain of truth. The perspective, and that's what I've always been saying. You gotta get on the shoulders of your parents, get on the shoulders of the scientists, get on the shoulders of the persons that actually have lifted the heavy weight and known what the stuff actually is, all right? Get on their shoulders, all right, like Hawkins did to Einstein. And Einstein and Bob Dylan. All right? From the mountain of truth. From there, make your declaration. And that is consistent also with Sun Tzu. Sun Tzu says, don't fight the battle that you haven't already won. And you will win the battle when you stand upon the mountain of truth. That's what I got to say. Donald Trump, he wasn't on that mountain of truth, man. I'm telling you. That's what you listen to what other people say. You listen to what they say about America. Listen to what our closest neighbors, Canada, says about us. The other thing I want to talk about is dogs and cats. Okay, man, it just hit me. And I've been giving a lot of thinking about this. And it's because when my daughter's cat, Cupcake. I don't know if my daughter got it from my mom or if it was just my daughter's cat, but Eolus got killed by a dog. I think Goldie killed Eolus because I took Eolus and I shook Eolus, his dead body, in Goldie's face, and Goldie's is right over here still. And I know exactly why I shook her. I was angry. You killed her because my dogs got out. I put Goldie in the house. I didn't think she was going to kill Nathan, but she did. Just like Boomer. I think Boomer made me have to put Connie down because it's just, some things, man, attack each other like cats and dogs. And the thing is, women are like cats, and men are like dogs. And that metaphor has held true for many, many years, and as long as I've been alive. 60-some years now. And that metaphor holds, that men are like dogs and women are like cats. And, okay... That's how Nathan the cat, the boy cat, okay, because you got boy cats and you also got girl cats. Okay, so it's a little bit confusing sometimes because of the mixed metaphor. Because you got boy cats and girl cats. And you got boy girls and girls, whatever. And you even have that even in with the gays and the transgenders and stuff like that, Okay, you always got that. These realities are real in our life, okay, and they you should let them speak to you, and they should open your ears, take the wax out, put the foghorn up to the hole in your ears, and make sure you can actually hear everything, and take it in, and understand, okay, that there are realities, a lot of realities. It's because your little perception isn't like your whole entire, is your whole entire reality. Don't mean that it's a whole entire reality of all the big reality, okay? You only get the big picture of reality when you get to the top of the mountaintop, and then you can look down and you can see what all that fighting is below. And you can understand it. But from the mountaintop where Bob Dylan stood, when he said you can't put a brand on the truth, okay? And that is what I'm talking about, the mountain of truth. And the mountain of truth is also held between the cats and the dogs. And the other mountain of truth that I've been dealing with right now is the fact that, okay, I had these two gay guys living in here. They moved in. I didn't know they were gay when they were moved in. But, I asked one guy, is that guy your friend or is he your partner? And he said he's my partner. And so when he was moving in, I realized that then at that point they were gay. And it just so happens that I came home from work one day, and one of the guys said to me, his last name is Robbins, and he's the same guy that I see when I did a background check on myself, that he could be, like, according to the documenter for my background checks that I was doing for me, and then I did some, for my own kids to find out what it said. I did the whole thing, all right? And his name was on there. He ain't related. He's not friend my direct bloodline. He could be, He's got the last name as me. He come from Indiana, but we're not in the exact same bloodline. And the thing is, I don't even know actually if anything is true, because these guys kind of played me. All right. And another thing is, all right, trying to even like set me up. And the thing is, though, okay. The reason I know that is one time I loaned one of the guys my my compressor, and when they brought it back, they didn't bring back my compressor. They brought back another compressor. It looked like mine, but it wasn't mine. And I could tell my compressor, okay? And then I mentioned to him, I said, well, you know what? My compressor didn't have that Velcro thing on there to tie up the cord, okay? And he said, well, he put that on there. No, he didn't put that on, because I analyzed that thing. I took every part of that out. I took some paint remover, and there's parts of it that just came off, wiped right off. It was all fake. Okay? And beneath one of the things, it's the logo emblems, there was a little bit of heroin. Okay? They're trying to set me up. Okay, this stuff is I have to put together, and like one of the haunting things was that when I came home one day, Cupcake was dead, and they said that he got cornered by my dogs and they killed him. See, and at that point now, in my thinking of things as time goes on and you reanalyze, because I have to make my decisions in the moment, okay? And I was thinking, like, after the fact, that no, I should have got my gun and said, you get the hell off my property. Don't ever let me see you again, or I will kill you. Okay? And since they, had moved on to my property, okay, they could have got the law involved. And then the law, might have arrested me and taken me to jail. Because I've already been attacked by people that have lived on my property and sent to jail. When it's my property, okay? That's how twisted the law can be. Especially if you get a cop that don't like you because you told that cop off in the past, because he was being stupid on another front, and it was the same cop that I told off. That cop put me in jail. You see how things work out, all right? And that's when you understand what Barack Obama is saying about, you think that there's no real arbiters. Like, you're afraid to actually do the right thing and what you really want to do, because how much is it gonna hurt? Because nobody's gonna come to your aid. That's why I shoved a knife into my neck and wanted to kill myself, and said, no, I'm gonna die. I'm not gonna live through this bullshit. Hey? Well, things can come down to that level, and you have to ask yourself, what does it all mean? So it's after the fact where I was thinking, I didn't do that on the spot, I let them, I let their story hold as if they were innocent. But now, I don't know, they could have threw Cupcake to my dogs, and then my dogs respond instinctually. I don't know what happened because I wasn't here, and it irritates me, but I'm not gonna make the tea. But I'm talking about dogs and cats, all right? And cats are cunning and dogs are loyal. And that's why I'm just gonna stop this one right here, because look, the thing is, from the top of the mountain from which I stand, I'm saying, okay, we need both cats and dogs. And There's some people that want to make the cats and dogs fight, and they will kill each other. But from the top of the mountain, that's not the right thing. It's like Charlie Angus is at the top of the mountain, not Donald Trump. And it's all these things right now. It's the cats and the dogs fighting, and it's the people that want to make them fight. And this is the other people saying, no, all right, we need both of you to harness together, and we need to take care of this project. And there's other people for their own force. And one of the encouraging things to me was when I woke up today, what I woke up to, when I hit on my thing, are you still watching? I said, yes, okay. They started playing this movie called The Headquarters with Owen's, this funny guy. Owen, I don't know, he's a funny guy. I think he smokes marijuana too. But he's a funny guy. Has the name of Owen in his name. I can't remember what his name is, all right? But it's really called The Headquarters. And they said, okay, he said something about, the kids said something about, oh, that's tight. Okay? And that was the same word I used on my mountaintop out there. Okay? I said, I'm making the inside tight so I can attach to the outside, because my pillars, okay, are on the outside and the inside is tight. And since they used the same word that I used, that was like a synchronicity telling me that, no, I am on the right path. Okay? And so I consider my considerations also to be on the right path. Okay? And so I'm just going to stop this one right here, because I'm going to say, look, this is my path. My path is to the top of the mountain, and being able to look down below and kind of realizing all the different fights that it took for me to get here, plus the sources, the closed sources, the open sources, and all that. So it could either be the mountaintop or my path, but both of them, and I'm saying, okay, I'm documenting this one right here, and I'm just going to call this one my path, and that's it. All right, bye.